Iran-backed Houthi rebels have been targeting foreign ships in the Red Sea since the Israel-Hamas war started. US and British warships have been shooting down their missiles and drones, but there is no sign of the Houthis stopping. Downing Street says the UK does not plan to send additional assets to patrol the Red Sea, as it condemned the destabilising attacks. But concern is mounting, and there are calls from some for the UK to send one of its aircraft carriers to the region.
Get the carrier out the door, make that part of the conversation. Don't see it as escalation. I sense from the sort of Foreign Office, perhaps they're not quite sure how to do this without showing signs of escalation. That to me is a failure to understand how carrier operations work. Good operations would be to punch through Suez, get through the Red Sea into the Gulf of Aden, assist the Eisenhower Group, who's already there, and could provide her all the protection that she needs, and be ready to strike. We've got these billion-dollar assets. They're great. We've got a very high readiness carrier in HMS Queen Elizabeth. If not now, then when?
If that was announced, how do you think the Houthis would react to that?
They'll do what they've done all the time, which is a big, bold announcement about how this is going to, if anyone touches them, there'll be retaliatory action. And that shouldn't be dismissed, incidentally. I mean, they do have a very capable inventory of weapons, far more capable than anyone realized. Clearly, Iran has been smuggling these things under the radar for some time. So they have a lot of weapons, and they've learned a lot from the Iranians in terms of stealth and mobility. So they're very hard to strike back. And they could, if they really went for it, cause an awful lot of damage. So we mustn't dismiss the Houthis as a rabble crowd. They've shown already that they have elements of military capability. So yes, they will bang the drum and say this is unacceptable, and any attacks will be met with equal force. And that's standard. They've been doing that all along. So right now they are spraying all sorts of missiles around and drones, from anti-ship ballistic missiles to cruise missiles to drones. Sooner or later, one of them is going to cause massive damage. I mean, ships have already been hit and caught fire, but none of them have exploded or sunk or killed anyone. They haven't hit a warship yet. But if you just sit there defensively, which is what we're doing at the moment, then sooner or later that's going to happen, and that's what we need to prepare against.
Could a strike on the Houthis eventually bring the US and the UK into combat with Iranian forces?
It could, and I think that's the fear. I think the fear of escalation, the fear of provoking Iran, and that's why I think those strikes need to be very carefully calculated. Which why I think it's probably why they haven't happened so far. Although, of course, there are so many political intertwining parts down there. It is very difficult to say let's do this without it having other knock-on effects elsewhere. And one of those will certainly be fear of escalation with Iran, but. By the same token, the Houthis are driving around with their mobile launchers now with complete impunity. And that can't continue. Because like I say, if you keep playing defense, eventually they're going to score. You have to, at some point, degrade their will to fight and reduce their munition stocks, in my view. Now, that can be done very carefully. And my personal view is it should be sort of a one-out, one-in policy. They fire a missile out, we strike the launcher back. You have to be very quick because that launcher will move, and 15 minutes later it won't be there. But we can do that sort of thing. We have the technology. So one out, one in. You claim it as self-defense, but you just make life that bit more difficult for the attacking forces. That, to me, is where we should be heading. And me and lots of others are kind of surprised that hasn't already happened.
What's the risk if direct action? If these decisions that are being discussed behind closed doors and analysed to the nth degree, what's the risk if that doesn't happen?
If it doesn't happen and the Houthis continue to operate with impunity, then the situation will get steadily worse. And then there'll be a massive incident, loss of life, pollution, etc. So it can't carry on for that reason alone, from almost a sort of tactical and operational perspective in the Red Sea. But there's another reason why we can't just let this carry on, and it's to do with perception and deterrence elsewhere in the world. Russia, China, North Korea will all be looking at this. I mean, China have got ships there; they're looking at it from very close up, and they need that Strait open more than the US as well as a side issue. But they'll be looking at this. They'll be looking at the West's unwillingness to take decisive action, and they'll be getting strength from it.
Thanks for watching. For more from Forces News, like and subscribe to our channel.